There's always a lot of talk about logos in golf. What makes a logo great? Do you buy a shirt or a hat with a logo? I think it's a combination of everything. What does a logo tell you? Does it have a story? Does it look cool? Does it have just a logo? Does it have a date? Does it have words? Does it have the name of the club on it? My favorite logo is Marion, the wicker baskets, as many people in the country think. But it can be, like I said, on a hat, it can be on a shirt. I have a great story about Marion. In 1981, I was 19 years old and I qualified to play the US Open at Marion. I had never played in a professional tournament in my life, and all of a sudden I'm 19 years old, I'm on the first tee, the group in front of Jack Nicklaus and the group behind Arnold Palmer, and I birdied the first 2 holes, and my name was atop the leaderboard. Nicklaus, Faxon, Palmer, and Johnny Miller were all on that board with me. That's my start with why I think it's one of the best logos, but I think the membership makes a big difference, as does the director of golf. I was doing an incredible event for Titleist at their partners conference years ago, maybe 7, 8 years ago, and Scott Nye, who's been the director of golf there forever, was in the audience, and when we were talking about logos, I was giving a little talk, a little speech, and I said, without a doubt, the wicker basket's Marion the best logo in golf. Now this was a Saturday, and before FedEx or UPS did any deliveries overnight, the next morning, Sunday morning, a brand new shirt with the Marion logo in my size showed up at my hotel room. Not many clubs can do that. Number 1, Marion. As a New Englander, I spent a lot of time on Cape Cod when I was growing up. As a matter of fact, my grandfather started a bunch of caddy camps right in the Depression area. As a young kid, he was a golfer, and he knew that kids needed a place to make money and to stay. So a lot of the clubs on Cape Cod housed kids so they could caddy, make some money, have some food for their summers. Now, 3 of my favorite logos in golf are from 3 clubs on the Cape. This one, famous Nantucket lighthouse called Sankaty Head Light, is the logo for the Sankaty Head Golf Club, recently renovated by Jim Urbina, and one of the coolest old link-style courses you could ever find in the US. That logo is really cool. Now, another thing that separates and makes a logo great is just the actual logo itself. Eastward Ho Country Club, designed by Herbert Fowler in the early 1900s, is right on the peninsula out in Chatham on Pleasant Bay. I was a caddy there as a kid, the hilliest course in the world, but they used to say Eastward Ho in big block letters, and it took away from this beautiful flagstick and fescue, which is really the symbol of the 15th hole, their sort of signature hole. So that logo at Eastward Ho is one of my favorites. It pops great on this navy blue shirt. And then more recently, the Core Crenshaw course just off the Cape in Plymouth, Mass. Now we're looking at Old English font here. The OS logo is really unique. It's old, and the oldest road in America is right there where Old Sandwich is. And obviously Core Crenshaw build beautiful courses. So those are 3 of my favorite logos, all within a half an hour of each of them, as long as you're flying or taking a boat, that's for sure. Okay, we're still on the topic of logos. We're on the topic of logos in Florida, and logos, how about in like Palm Beach County area? There's none more iconic than Seminole with a Native American Indian head, iconic with a yellow around the head. Looks good on anything, whether it's a hat, a shirt, t-shirt, I got them all. Great course, great membership, one of the best directors of golf in the world, Bob Ford. I think that's number 1 in Florida. But one of the newer courses, Macarthur. This the Macarthur milk bottle. It used to be a dairy farm, and Nick Price and Fazio built one of the best courses down here. If you haven't gotten to play there, you should go there just to buy this logo. Fantastic. I like that it doesn't say Macarthur, just a milk bottle. Everybody knows what it is. Now there's a sleeper down here, old Seth Rayner course right on Palm Beach Island, called the Everglades Club. It's only like 6,100 yards, narrow. If you ever hit 50% of the fairways there, you've done well. How about this kind of a standing alligator? Great logo. Again, doesn't have to say Everglades to be good. Now, one of my favorite places to be, I've got a long history here. My wife's parents are from Old Marsh. You want to see wildlife and nature. This is a Sandhill Crane. They make some of the craziest noises, but again, iconic logo, the Sandhill Crane with a date, 1987. 4 pretty good logos within 20 minutes of each other. Oh yeah, I live at Old Palm. Almost forgot that one. Really nice, just a palm tree. Again, simple, small, but noticeable. I had a pretty good year this year playing some courses in the top 100 that I got to knock off and going to some great places around the world. And I got some good logos. So I got to play in a member guest, my competitive career to member guest with Joe Buck at a beautiful Fazio course down in Cabo called El Dorado. Kind of a cool logo of the swordfish jumping out of the water with the moon in the background. That's a cool logo. Sweeten's Cove, jumped into the top 100, 9-hole course outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Whiskey Barrel, the SC, they do an unbelievably good job rotating a bunch of different logos they have. If you haven't been to Sweeten's Cove, it's open to the public. Go there and play and play and play and don't stop playing. Cool. US Open for the women last year was a country club at Charleston, a Seth Rayner designed course. And just up the street was another sleeper, great course called Yeaman's Hall. Another Seth Rayner course along some marshy, a little more elevation. 2 fantastic courses. If you're a fan, you got to go see both Yeaman's Hall and Country Club at Charleston. Now, this was a dream. Sand Hills. It's like a branding iron, the S and the H. Core Crenshaw, built in the early 90s. We had one of the best times out there for 2 days, playing in unbelievably calm conditions, some of the best settings you've ever seen for golf in the world, and the Sandhill logo is right up there at the top. I've got dual logos here from a Hoopy match play. Gil Hance's, Jim Wagner did an incredible job building this course kind of in the middle of nowhere, Georgia. The logo's the Vidalia Onion, and I think that's pretty cool. You just have a small logo, you don't have to talk a lot about it, but a Hoopy match play, one of the best courses anywhere in the world. One of the favorite courses I got to play last year that I hadn't played before was Somerset Hills in New Jersey. Tillinghast Gem, kind of a cool iconic logo of a crown and an eagle. I think that's an eagle, I may be wrong. If I am wrong, I'm sure somebody will let me know about it. But I think that's a great looking logo. And about a month and a half ago, I was down in New Zealand with some friends playing another member guest with my friend Drew Lawton, and another Core Crenshaw course called Tara Iti. And this bird is a native indigenous bird to New Zealand, the Maori language, the native language of the New Zealanders. This bird was endangered species, and through the protection that everybody that helped develop Tara Iti, the bird is coming back. It's making a comeback. Tara Iti, fabulous place. Pretty lucky year and good spots to grab some logos.